A man halts before the court for abstracting electricity. An attack by a swarm of bees leaving an elderly man dead. And a young woman celebrating the release of her new book. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shoshana Roll-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, a third man hauled before the court today in connection with abstracting electricity from the Grand Bahama Power Company. The Freeport resident is the third to be charged in as many months with what GBPC reported as meter tampering. 42-year-old Michael Nemore Jr. appeared before Magistrate Rangan Johnson in court number 3 on 3 counts of obstructing electricity and 3 counts of damage. He is the third person to be charged in connection with the matters surrounding electricity diversion as a result of a probe at the Grand Bahama Power Company. You may recall that earlier this year, the power company disclosed that an audit uncovered that scores of customers were either connected directly to their system via a meter bypass, or the meters were tampered with to underread the actual usage, resulting in a loss of revenue for the power company. That audit resulted in a number of franchise stores and other entities being disconnected from GB Power's grid for an extended period of time. Back in March, the father of Michael Nemore Jr., 62-year-old Michael Nemore Sr., and 43-year-old Bernard Clark were the first to be arraigned on a long list of charges, including 14 counts of intentionally and unlawfully causing material damage to conductors and wires and the property of GBPC. All matters taking place sometime between August 2014 and March 2019. Reports indicate that the total amount of electricity used and damage caused amounted to millions of dollars. In this case, both Nemore and Clark pled not guilty to the charges. Now, as for Nemore Jr., he pled not guilty to all charges on Monday afternoon. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until November 11th for trial. And also from the courts tonight, 23-year-old Deshaun Anthony Roll of number 54B Smith Circle was arraigned on the charge of negligently causing grievous harm in Magistrate Court number 2 before Magistrate Charlton Smith. He was not required to enter a plea and was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until trial on November 12th. Now, this charge is in connection with a shooting incident that occurred around midnight on August 8th that left a female hospitalized. According to police, preliminary investigations revealed that the incident occurred at a business establishment on Midshipman Road, where 3 adult males and 2 females allegedly made use of an illegal firearm when it reportedly discharged, hitting one of the females in the chest area. The victim remains hospitalized in stable condition. Meanwhile, 25-year-old Isaiah Joaquin of Young Fall Drive, Holmes Rock, and Jamal Arota, aged 24 years, were arraigned before Magistrate Charlton Smith on armed robbery charges. The charges are in connection with an armed robbery that occurred on Saturday, August 3rd. Reports are that shortly after 4 p.m., a lone gunman entered a business establishment in the downtown area, brandishing a firearm and demanded cash not related to the business and fled the area on foot. The men were not required to enter a plea and were remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until trial. That's on September 30th. Well, as 4 young Grand Bahama men await trial for a string of break-ins at local churches and business establishments, a pastor whose church has been broken into is advising parents to ensure that they are instilling the right values in their children. He's also sending a special appeal to the community.
It's like they have no regard for the people of God or the house of God. It's like they don't even care anymore.
With a string of theft taking place throughout Grand Bahama over the past few weeks, many were surprised to know that the targeted victims didn't just include business establishments, but churches as well. Since airing the stories of the recent break-ins, many have cried shame on those who have preyed on the house of God. Freedom International Ministries was among the churches that have been broken into recently, and among the list of stolen items, a communion set. Bishop Sobek Kemp believes that this act is a result of many parents removing God out of the home.
We're so busy, we don't want to put God in our lives anymore. It seems like a lot of, in fact, most of this new generation, the more millennials and those that come afterwards, they do not seem to have the appetite, the spiritual appetite, and regarding the things of God in these times.
But he says the onus is on the parents to ensure that their children are not just educated, but they spend quality time instilling moral and ethical values in them.
The video games, etc., all of these things are teaching the kids, and so now those kids have grown up, and because of what they've been exposed to, now their values have been formed by what they've been exposed to as they were kids and as they were growing up. And so this is what we are getting now. We are reaping all of that. Parenting is so important, and we have a lack of it. And we have a great shortage of it in our times. And as a result, this is what happens.
He is also sending an appeal to the community not to purchase goods from persons who cannot prove that they obtained the goods legally.
If they go to sell to the pawn shop, that's not available to them. That's not a means, but so the only thing we can do is encourage people, be very, very careful of who you purchase from. Make sure that there are, persons present receipts or invoices to you, proof of having, proof of description of the items as to where they came from.
And some sad news tonight as an elderly woman is telling her story of how she lost her husband following a vicious attack by bees. In this report with our Italia Hall, she recounts the tragic experience and says she wants others in the neighborhood to be careful. She's also calling on the powers that be to intervene so that this situation doesn't happen again. Keith and Pam Finley have been residents of the Carrollville Beach community for some 20 years. Pam says on Wednesday of last week, her husband was cleaning the yard and usually would throw the leaves across the street. She says her husband was a healthy man and that was a usual activity for him. She says suddenly she heard her husband calling her name and she met him sitting by the front door.
I came out of my bedroom and the whole house was full, swarming with bees. I thought actually that they were flies because they were black. They did not look like bees. And when I came out of the room and saw it, I said, oh my God, where on earth did all these flies come from? And he was able to say they're bees. Okay, this time he is sitting in the door. When I saw him, he was covered from head to toe, completely covered in bees.
She says the bees filled the house and the front yard, adding that she was only able to throw him a towel. She says she then ran outside to the backyard and called 911 for help and claims emergency services arrived an hour later and he was then taken to the hospital.
The airwaves shut, everything constricting the airways shut down, so they had to end up putting him on life support on Wednesday night, and he never came out of it.
Her neighbor, Beverly Chin, has been a resident there since 1980. Chin says she saddened by the news, and to her surprise, when she went to alert another neighbor about the unfortunate incident, the neighbor said that she too had an experience with the bees and that they killed her dogs.
This road here is what the children used to go to school, to St. George's, Mary Patricia, coming out to Bahama. This is where they walk to go to school. Can you imagine if they get attacked by bees again?
Finley says the situation is frightening and she wants others to be aware.
It is just awful, and just seeing it, it was like something out of a certified horror movie. Okay, I have never seen anything like that in my life, and I would never, if I lived to be 100, 200 years old, I would not like to see that happen to anybody, or to even hear that it happens to anybody. It should not have to happen, because something needs to be done, something should be done, and I am begging the authorities to let people know, do whatever is necessary to get rid of them.
Keith Finley died on Thursday, August 9th in hospital at the age of 82. It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News. Thank you, Tali. Well, the Valeria Caribbean is now back to normal operations after leaving 200 Grand Bahama residents stranded in Fort Lauderdale on Friday and a delay in sailing on Saturday. A statement issued by the Valeria states that the fast ferry, which was scheduled to sail from Port Everglades to Bimini and Grand Bahama, was delayed for hours due to operational issues, and due to time constraints, the Freeport sailing on Friday was canceled. However, the Valeria sailed to Bimini late Friday night, and after experiencing a delay with clearance on Saturday, the fast ferry arrived in Freeport at 4:20 p.m. Those passengers affected by Friday's cancellation were given the option to reschedule or receive a full refund. The passengers affected will also receive a complimentary round trip on Valeria, which they can use for either Freeport or Bimini. Aspiring maestro needs your help. Find out why after the break.